Good morning, class 10. Today we will start a new chapter in civics, outcomes of democracy. As we begin to wind up our tour of democracy, it is time to move beyond our discussion of specific themes and ask a general set of questions. What does democracy do? Or what outcomes can we reasonably expect of democracy? Also, does democracy fulfill these expectations in real life? We begin by thinking about how to access the outcomes of democracy. After some clarity on how to think on this subject, we proceed to look at the expected and actual outcomes of democracy in various aspects. Quality of government, economic well-being, inequality, social differences and conflict, and finally freedom and dignity. Our final verdict, positive but qualified, leads us to think about the challenges to democracy in the next and final chapter. How do we access democracy's outcomes? Do you remember how students in Madame Lingdou's class argued about democracy? This was in chapter 2 of class 9 textbook. It emerged from that conversation that democracy is a better form of government when compared with dictatorship or any other alternative. We felt that democracy was better because it promotes equality among citizens, enhances the dignity of the individual, improves the quality of decision making, provides a method to resolve conflicts, and allows room to correct mistakes. I think, children, you must mark this, you must learn this. Why democracy is better? Because it promotes the equality among citizens, enhances the dignity of the individual, improves quality of decision making, provides a method to resolve conflicts, and allows room to correct mistakes. Are these expectations realized under democracies? That means, are these expectations fulfilled by a democracy? When we talk to people around us, most of them support democracy against other alternatives, such as rule by a monarch or military or religious leaders. But not so many of them would be satisfied with the democracy in practice. So we face a dilemma. Democracy is seen to be good in principle, but felt to be not so good in practice. This dilemma invites us to think hard about the outcomes of democracy. Do we prefer democracy only or for moral reasons? Or are there some prudential reasons to support democracy too? Over 100 countries of the world today claim and practice some kind of democratic politics. They have formal constitutions, they hold elections, they have parties, and they guarantee rights of citizens. While these features are common to most of them, these democracies are very much different from each other in terms of their social situations, their economic achievements, and their cultures. Clearly, what may be achieved or not achieved under each of these democracies will be very different. But is there something that we expect from every democracy just because it is democracy? Our interest in and fascination for democracy often pushes us into taking a position that democracy can address all socio-economic and political problems. If some of our expectations are not met, we start blaming the idea of democracy, or we start doubting if we are living in a democracy. The first step towards thinking carefully about the outcomes of democracy is to recognize that democracy is just a form of government. It can only create conditions for achieving something. The citizens have to take advantage of those conditions and achieve those goals. Let us examine some of the things we can reasonably expect from democracy and examine the record of democracy. So, in a nutshell, it is written that we can't keep blaming democracy for everything. We can't keep putting all the blame on democracy, but it is the citizens who are expected to take advantage of whatever privileges are provided by the democracy, and the citizens will have to work in the direction that can make the democratic country a successful one. Accountable, responsive and legitimate government. Legitimate government means reasonable government. A government that is acceptable, that is reasonable. There are some things that democracy must provide. In a democracy, we are most concerned with ensuring that people will have the right to choose their rulers and people will have control over the rulers. Whenever possible and necessary, citizens should be able to participate in decision making that affects them all. Therefore, the most basic outcome of democracy should be that it produces the government that is accountable to the citizens and responsive to the needs and expectations of the citizens. Now, underline all this. I am reading some of the important lines once again. Underline all these lines which I am reading again. Whenever possible and necessary, citizens should be able to participate in decision making that affects them all, because the decisions which are taken in a country affects everybody directly or indirectly. So the citizens should be participants. They should be allowed to participate in decision making that affects everybody. Therefore, the most basic outcome of democracy should be that it produces a government that is accountable to the citizens. That means a government which is answerable to the citizens, which works for the citizens and which sees to it that the citizens are given participation in decision making. It produces a government that is accountable to the citizens and responsive to the needs and expectations of the citizens. That means it should see to it, the government will have to see to it that it fulfills the expectations and the needs of the citizens. It is responsive. That means if the citizens need something, if their demand comes to the forefront, then the government should work in the direction of fulfilling their demands. Otherwise, if the government cannot keep the citizens happy, then that government is a failure. But we go into this question, we face another common question. Is the democratic government efficient? Is it effective? Some people think that democracy produces less effective government. It is of course true that non-democratic rulers do not have to bother about deliberation in assemblies or worry about majorities and public opinion. So they can be very quick and efficient in decision making and implementation. Democracy is based on the idea of deliberation and negotiation. That means whenever in a democracy anything is decided, long meetings, debates, discussions are held and they enter into negotiations. They compromise whenever it is necessary and they come to a positive conclusion. So some delay is bound to take place. Obviously, when long debates and discussions will take place, meetings will be held continuously, then it will take some time to come to a concrete conclusion. Does that make democratic government inefficient? So if it is taking time, if decision making is taking some time, can we say that democratic government is not good? We should not have democratic government in the country. No, it is wrong to say so. Let us think in terms of costs. Imagine a government that may take decisions very fast, but it may take decisions that are not accepted by the people and may therefore face problems. In contrast, the democratic government will take more time to follow procedures before arriving at a decision. I am reading this again. In contrast, the democratic government will take more time to follow procedures before arriving at a decision. But because it has followed procedures, its decisions may both be more acceptable to the people and more effective. So, the cost of time that democracy pays is perhaps worth it. That means, the conclusion of this paragraph is that if any government is taking less time to come to a conclusion, it is deciding matters very fast, and on the other hand, there is a democratic government which is taking a long time to decide matters. Deliberations are going on, debates are going on, meetings are being held, and it is taking a long time to come to a conclusion, then we must compromise with this time taking process. We must compromise with the cost of time, because if they are discussing things so much, if they are holding meetings, then definitely they will come to a better conclusion, they will come to a better decision in comparison to those governments which decide the matter very quickly. Now look at the other side. Democracy ensures that decision making will be based on norms and procedures. So, a citizen who wants to know if a decision was taken through the correct procedures can find this out. She has the right and the means to examine the process of decision making. This is known as transparency. Very important. Sometimes a question is asked, a 2-mark question can be asked, what do you mean by transparency in the government? So what is transparency? The transparency means that the citizens have all the right to find out the details of the procedures which have been followed in decision making. It is written that decision making is based on norms and procedures. That means there are specific steps which have to be followed, there are specific guidelines which have to be followed to come to a concrete decision in a democratic setup. So whether the government has, whether the democracy has, whether those set of rules and regulations have been followed while coming to a decision, while taking a decision or not, whether the norms have been followed or not, the citizens have all the right to find out. This is known as transparency. So this you must learn. This factor is often missing from a non-democratic government. Transparency is missing in a non-democratic government. Therefore, we are trying to find out the outcomes of democracy. It is right to expect democracy to produce a government that follows procedures and is accountable to the people. We can also expect that the democratic government develops mechanisms for citizens to hold the government accountable and mechanisms for citizens to take part in decision making whether they think fit. I am reading all this again, children, it is important. This factor is often missing from a non-democratic government. Therefore, when we are trying to find out the outcomes of democracy, it is right to expect democracy to produce a government that follows procedures and is accountable to the people. That means it is absolutely perfect if we expect that in a democracy the government will follow proper procedures and it will take decisions after following the procedures and it is accountable to the people. We can also expect that the democratic government develops mechanisms for citizens to hold the government accountable and mechanisms for citizens to take part in decision making wherever they think fit. We can also expect that democratic government develops mechanisms for citizens to hold the government accountable. That means it will find out ways and means, it will find out mechanisms, the techniques, how the citizens can hold the government accountable, and mechanisms for citizens to take part in decision making, how the citizens can be active members in decision making in a democratic setup. These mechanisms will have to be found out. If you wanted to measure democracies on the basis of this expected outcome, you would look for the following practices and institutions. Regular, free and fair elections. All these are very important in a democratic country. Regular, free and fair elections. These are specialities of a democracy. Open public debate on major policies. That means the citizens in a democratic country are free to discuss matters, have open debates and discussions, and express their opinion on major policies and legislations. That means the rules which are made, the laws which are made in the country. And citizens' right to information about the government and its functioning. The citizen has all the right of information about the government and its functioning, how the government is formed, who are the political parties in the country, which are the main candidates in each party, how a particular government has been formed, how is it functioning fairly well or not. The citizens have all the right to inquire and get all the information. The actual performance of democracies shows a mixed record on this. Democracies have had greater success in setting up regular and free elections and in setting up conditions for open public debate. So in a democracy, it has been seen that in a democratic country, fair and free elections, regular, fair and free elections are always held. They have been successful in conducting such elections, and people have been given equal opportunity to express themselves, to debate over any matter, to discuss matters concerning themselves or concerning people by and large. Most democracies fall short of elections that provide a fair chance to everyone and in subjecting every decision to public debate. Now, only one problem comes, that each citizen cannot be given a fair chance to express his opinion or to take part in public debate or take part in decision making. Each and every member cannot be a participant to these two things. Democratic governments do not have a very good record when it comes to sharing information with citizens. All one can say in favor of democratic regimes is that they are much better than any democratic regime, than any non-democratic regime in these aspects. Although some shortcomings are there, but still we can, if we compare the non-democratic governments, we will come to a conclusion that democratic governments are far better than non-democratic governments. In substantive terms, it may be reasonable to expect from democracy a government that is attentive to the needs and demands of the people and is largely free of corruption. So this is again another explanation why democracy is better. It is always seen that more or less a democratic government is more attentive to the needs of the people. Why it is more attentive? Because it knows very well that if it will not fulfill the needs of the people, if it will not take care of the needs of the people, then the citizens have all the right to have fresh elections. they will form another government. That government will have to resign. So they are more attentive to the needs and demands of the people and is largely free of corruption. By and large, a democratic a democratic government is free of corruption. The record of democracies is not impressive on these two accounts. Democracies often frustrate the needs of the people and often ignore the demands of the majority of its population. Now, on paper, it is true that the democratic government is more attentive to the needs of the people and it is free of corruption. But when it is seen in reality, in practical life, when it is inspected, then it is seen that it does not fulfill these two things in a short manner. Democracies often frustrate the needs of the people. That means they are not able to fulfill the needs of the people and often ignore the demands of the majority of its population. Often the people are not very satisfied because their demands are ignored. The routine tales of corruption are enough to convince us that democracy is not free of this evil. If we say that 99% a democratic government is free of corruption, it is wrong to say so. Because every now and then, more or less every day, you will see new cases of corruption in different forms. You will see such cases of corruption are highlighted. So it is not correct to say that a democratic government is free of corruption. At the same time, there is nothing to show that non-democracies are less corrupt or more sensitive to the people. Okay, so on the one hand, it is right to say that democratic governments have corruption in them, they have the problem of corruption in them, and they don't 100% fulfill the needs of the people. The people are not very happy and satisfied and they can say that yes, the government is fulfilling all our expectations. No, it is not so. But at the same time, we cannot say this also that non-democratic governments are better. They can fulfill all the needs of the people. They fulfill the expectations of the people. They are free of corruption. We can't say this for non-democratic governments, non-democracies as well. So both, whether it is a democracy or a non-democracy, the problem of corruption and the problem that 100% demands of the people are not fulfilled, the people can't be made fully satisfied by both forms of government. There is one respect in which democratic government is certainly better than its alternatives. Pay attention. Democratic government is legitimate government. Legitimate government. It is accountable. It is reasonable. It may be slow, less efficient, not always very responsive or clean. Underline all this. There is one respect in which democratic government is certainly better than its alternatives. Underline everything. Democratic government is legitimate government. It may be slow, less efficient, not always very responsive or clean, but a democratic government is people's own government. Please underline everything and learn everything as it is written here. Don't miss out any line. Don't forget any line. Each word and each line in this paragraph is very important. Because in the board exam, a question like this comes very often. Democratic government is a legitimate form of government. Explain. So you will have to explain in detail. Generally, it comes as a 5-mark question. So you have to write a proper long answer, explained properly. I am reading this again. It may be slow, less efficient, not always very responsive or clean. But a democratic government is people's own government. That is why there is an overwhelming support for the idea of democracy all over the world. Why a democratic government is called people's own government? Because it is the people who have voted and chosen their candidates. It is the people who have elected their leaders, so it is the people's own government. That is why generally you will see that democratic governments are supported in the world. As the accompanying evidence from South Asia shows, the support exists in countries with democratic regimes as well as countries without democratic regimes. People wish to be ruled by representatives elected by them. They also believe that democracy is suitable for their country. Democracy's ability to generate its own support in itself an outcome that cannot be ignored. Democracy's ability to generate its own support is itself an outcome that cannot be ignored. That means democracy has the ability to gather support from the people. More and more people, wherever there are democratic governments in the world, more and more people are with that form of government. They support democracy. They support democratic setup in their country. So this is a very big advantage which we can't ignore. Economic growth and development. If democracies are expected to produce good governments, then is it not fair to expect that they would also produce development? Evidence shows that in practice, many democracies did not fulfill this expectation. That means they did not fulfill the expectation of enough development in their country. If you consider all democracies and all dictatorships for the 50 years between 1950 to 2000, dictatorships have slightly higher rate of economic growth. The inability of democracy to achieve higher economic development worries us. But this alone cannot be the reason to reject democracy, because democracy has so many other plus points. So we can't reject democracy just on this ground that economic growth is slightly more in dictatorships. But this alone cannot be the reason to reject democracy. As you have already studied in economics, economic development depends on several factors. Please underline. Economic development depends on several factors. Country's population size, global situation, cooperation from other countries, economic priorities adopted by the country, etc. Underline till here and learn. However, the difference in the rates of economic development between less developed countries with dictatorships and democracies is negligible. Overall, we cannot say that democracy is a guarantee of economic development, but we can expect democracy not to lag behind dictatorships in this respect. So if we can't say that democracy is a guarantee of economic development, we also cannot say that we also cannot expect democracy to lag behind dictatorships. When we find such significant difference in the rates of economic growth between countries under dictatorship and democracy, it is better to prefer democracy as it has several other positive outcomes. Very similar thing I had said a few minutes back, that we can't reject democracy just on one ground, because democracy has so many other benefits, so many other advantages. That is why if a little economic growth is less, we can compromise, because democracy is still many times better than dictatorship. Now children, page number 94. There is nothing to learn on this page, so I am giving you this as a homework. Page 94, you will just give a reading, that's all. Reduction of inequality and poverty. Perhaps more than development, it is reasonable to expect democracies to reduce economic disparities. That means the differences in terms of economic, you can say, their financial condition, or based on their economic standards, the differences should be reduced. Perhaps more than development, it is reasonable to expect democracies to reduce economic disparities. Even when a country achieves economic growth, will wealth be distributed in such a way that all citizens of the country will have a share and lead a better life? So it should not be that wealth is concentrated only in few hands. Wealth should be fairly distributed, by and large equally distributed, in such a way that every person has some share of wealth in its part. Is economic growth in democracies accompanied by increased inequalities among the people? Or do democracies lead to a just distribution of goods and opportunities? Democracies are based on political equality. Underline. Democracies are based on political equality. All citizens have equal weight in electing representatives. That means everybody's vote is of equal weight, equal value. Weight here means weightage, importance. Each vote is of equal importance, whether the vote has been cast by a poor person, a rich person, a wealthy person, he is a farmer, or he is an industrialist. Each vote is of equal value. All individuals have equal weight in electing representatives. Parallel to the process of bringing individuals into a political arena on an equal footing, we find growing economic inequalities. A small number of ultra-rich enjoy a highly disproportionate share of wealth and incomes. Not only this, their share in the total income of the country has been increasing. Those at the bottom of the society have very little to depend upon. Their incomes have been declining. Sometimes they find it difficult to meet their basic needs of life, such as food, clothing, house, education and wealth. So what is seen generally? It has been observed that there is lot of economic disparity among the people. There are few sections of people in the society, in the country, who are very rich, and